As our guests make their way to the stage, we will continue to stay standing for a rendition of our national anthem. Thank you. Before we are seated, please stand for a moment of silence where this is an opportunity for prayer, meditation, and reflection. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Molweni, good morning, goeiemorgen, and a formal acknowledgement to our esteemed guest, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the Republic of South Africa, our Honourable Host Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyane, Honourable Ministers, and there are many, Deputy Ministers and MECs, members of the South African Local Government Association National Executive Committee, as well as Provincial Committee executives, all of our executive mayors and mayors from across the country, Mr. Monyane, the chairperson of the Demarcation Board and the former president of SALGA, Mr. Tsikane Muleke, our Auditor General of South Africa, and our invited guests and the media and fellow South Africans. A very warm welcome to the very first Council of Mayors since the 2021 local government elections. This is the third edition of the 2022 Council of Mayor edition with, I think, a quite astounding attendance. The first edition of the Council of Mayors, we had 143 mayors in attendance, and the second was attended by 147. Today, our third Council of Mayors, as part of this edition, has broken a record thus far with 168 mayors in attendance, both virtually and physically. And so we thank you to the mayors for prioritizing this engagement. The South African Local Government Association is tasked or mandated to play an advocacy, lobbying, and supportive role and facilitate strategic engagements to ensure that local government can effectively perform the functions assigned to it by the Constitution. And the Council of Mayors is one of the many consultative forums that SALGA provides for the development of local government positions on policy and legislation impacting the sector. But what distinguishes this particular forum, which is constitutionally set up within the Constitution of SALGA, is that it brings together mayors who are the political leaders of their respective municipalities, and it provides them with an opportunity to identify particular challenges faced by the executive in municipality, with a sharp focus on proposing practical solutions and approaches to address these challenges, as well as share and learn from good practices. So in our program today, we have a number of very robust and detailed debates and discussions that we have scheduled as part of our sessions, where we will have cabinet members, executive mayors and mayors, as well as practitioners within the local government sector, discussing incredibly relevant issues to municipalities, particularly those of mayors. And just to give you a sense or a taste of some of the topics that we'll be covering as part of the first portion of the program, the themes that we'll be touching on will include assessing the transitional progress post the 2021 local government elections, and then followed by an assessment on local government financial management and management of municipal financing, with a particular focus on how municipalities can drive economic turnaround and ensure financial recovery with regards to the state of our economy. And this is particularly relevant in the context of COVID-19. But before I hand over to our host mayor, who will be doing the official welcome and welcoming us to his beautiful city, Buffalo Municipality Metropolitan City, I do ask your indulgence so that we can just deal with some of the logistics for today. We would like to call on the officials from this particular venue just to share details on evacuation in the event of any particular emergency. May I call officials to assist with that before we proceed with the rest of our program? If we do not have any official in the room, we will schedule that then later in the program. We apologize for that. I will now hand over for the formal welcome remarks by the Executive Mayor, Councillor Tola Pakati. Councillor Pakati is also the Deputy President of SALGA, and we wish to now invite you, sir, to do the official welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the session, Deputy President of SALGA, Councillor Zanthia Limbeck, the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, President Ramaphosa, Minister of Cooperative Governance, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, and the deputies of Cooperative Governance, Deputy Minister Bapela and Deputy Minister Nkadimeng. The President of SALGA, Councillor Pekistofile, Premier of the Eastern Cape, Honorable Oscar Mabuyane, MECs present, leadership of political parties invited, provincial chairpersons of SALGA, executive mayors and mayors present, traditional leaders and officials, as well as the media. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an honor for me to be officially welcoming you to this year's Council of Mayors, which is organized by the South African Local Government Association in our metro. We believe that this is a very important session in enhancing the capacity of our municipalities to better discharge their duties and become true institutions of service delivery and social transformation. There were many sacrifices in the struggle for majority rule in South Africa, and we should use gatherings of this nature to make democracy meaningful for all. Yesterday marked 30 years since the brutal and barbaric attack by the SALGA regime, which 28 people were killed for protesting in Bisho in 1992. The SALGA government was doing the bidding for the apartheid regime, and this action should always be located within the other countless acts of barbarity performed by white minority regime on the people of South Africa. The Bisho massacre, as it later became known, can be described as one of the significant events which marked the last brutal act of apartheid. The people who died at Bisho were fighting against an unjust system which racially discriminated against them and created no prospect for their future and that of their children. In amplifying this point, it is important to remember the wise counsel of Almika Cabral, the leader of the people of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, who cautioned that, and I quote, "Always bear in mind that people are not fighting for ideas, for things in anyone's head. They are fighting to win material benefits, to live better and in peace, to see their lives go forward, to guarantee the future of their children," end quote. As we gather as mayors and executive mayors here today, I am confident that we will seek to give meaning to the fight that the people of South Africa had against apartheid and to the legacy of those who died in Bisho 30 years ago. I'm confident that we will, over the next 2 days, emerge with a solid program of action which will provide a clear guide for all of us to better implement various projects which are aimed at uplifting our communities. The program of this Council of Mayors on its own gives us comfort that being here over these 2 days will build us into better leaders in our municipalities. Municipal governance is difficult, and it is impossible to do when you are operating in isolation. I always make the point that while the legislation requires that we govern our municipalities in terms of the demarcated boundaries, the reality is that the movement of people and infrastructure happens across the boundaries. That is why we need to have a view of local governance in an interconnected and interdependent ecosystem. Gathering of this nature and SALGA as an association properly assist us to maintain the relevant intergovernmental connection for the seamless application of our policies. I always find it strange that municipalities can have cooperation agreements and sister city relations with cities that are overseas and have none in their neighboring countries. This is something we must do away with, because we can never develop if we do not pull together. As we gather here, ladies and gentlemen, we are confronted by unfortunate challenges that are resulting from COVID-19, drought, and other natural disasters, such as storms and flooding. The poor financial state of municipalities, low levels of revenue collection, unemployment, poverty, crime, and cable theft are realities that have become common in most of our towns. While it is obvious that the pandemic has thrown the world into disarray, more of the economic damage will forever be felt, particularly in areas that were already disadvantaged before the pandemic. South Africa's job market was already facing challenges way before the pandemic hit our shores, and natural disasters exacerbated the challenges. In our city, we're hit by massive storms twice this year alone, and the devastation that they caused to our infrastructure is massive. And this will take a lot of resources to recover. And this comes at a time when revenue collection is at an all-time low due to the negative effects of COVID-19. We are trying to navigate this challenge using our economic recovery and investment plan and implementing revenue enhancement measures, including enforcement of credit control policies. Being here gives us an opportunity to learn what other mayors are doing in addressing the challenge of municipal fiscal health. While we try to create our interconnection and relations as municipalities, we believe the relations with the entire government are very crucial. The district development model that you directed all government to move towards is therefore very visionary, and it is one of the best decisions that our national government has taken. While people have always criticized the government for good policies that are poorly implemented, the DDM is not a policy as such, but an implementing model for developing projects. In our municipality, planning is now starting to adapt to the DDM model, and we are noticing that some state institutions are starting to play their part in the application of the model. We are on record as the municipality welcoming the DDM as the correct path to take the reality that development has a location and that all development projects are in municipalities. So the uncoordinated approach which was prevailing in the past made it impossible to adequately quantify the impact that the entire government was making on communities. And this also was accompanied by the creation of budget leakages and duplications, which negatively impacted the pace and magnitude of the task of bettering the lives of our people as a country. We are running through these issues to highlight the fact that, in our view, this is not a social gathering of mayors, but a working session that should be treated with requisite seriousness, because we face many challenges and we need to share ideas on how to resolve such. This is our way of welcoming the mayors and executive mayors of our country in our city, and we wish this gathering a success, and may you have fruitful deliberations aimed at bettering the lives of the people of South Africa. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much to the Executive Mayor of Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality and the Deputy President of SALGA, Councillor Bakati, for those welcoming remarks. I now call on the President of SALGA, Councillor Beki Stofile, who will be providing further background and setting the scene and providing rationale behind the Council of Mayors, and most importantly, touching on the emerging issues impacting and affecting mayors and local government at large. Councillor Stofile.
Thank you very much, DP Limbeck. What is good is we have brought the buffalo to Buffalo City. So I think it's a very good thing. Program Director, His Excellency, the President of the Republic, President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, and the Deputy Ministers, and the former presidents of SALGA, Manyuni, Nkadiming, and MECs that are present here. Honorable Premier of the Eastern Cape, Nkuluba Phathiswa yethu yalapha, Oscar Mabuyana, members of the National Executive Committee of SALGA and Provincial Executive Chair that are present in this meeting. Executive mayors and mayors that this gathering is meant for them to interact and engage. The Auditor General, Mama Utsekane Maluleka, invited guests, members of the media, allow me to, on behalf of the collective leadership of SALGA, start by expressing our sincere appreciation to Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality for hosting this first meeting of the Council of Mayors for the term 2021 to 2026. To strengthen SALGA representation, role, as well as to ensure focused support to municipalities. The November 2016 SALGA National Conference resolved to establish these councils of mayors. The purpose of the Council of Mayors is to provide a formalized structures in SALGA that will meet at least an annual basis, that will focus and address challenges experienced by mayors, and a platform that can also be used to learn and share experiences. Also to reflect to difficulties that mayors in their work or in their cycle of work experience. The inaugural Council of Mayors was convened from 8 to 9 June 2017, followed by the second meeting in February 2019. We then had the benefit of the attendance of 143 in 2017 and 147 in 2019 of mayors respectively. As well, in this gathering today, we have seen the large number of 168 mayors attended. And this, it also reflects the more interest that have developed since the establishment of this forum and seeing cabinet ministers attending in large numbers. And we have seen, and you will be seeing in the coming days, participating and sharing the views with us in respective of municipality roles. Our primary goal is to bring together mayors from across the country and provide a platform to focus on addressing challenges experienced as well as opportunities for SALGA's NEC to get feedback from mayors and thus enabling SALGA to become more effective in its advocacy work. Program Director, whereas the previous Council of Mayors concluded on a number of resolutions, including specific tasks given to the National Executive Committee, progress of which was comprehensively covered in the organizational report at the National Conference. I will not repeat these, but instead focus on our menu for conversation over the next 2 days. We are immensely proud that, keeping with the Constitution and the spirit of cooperative governance, we welcome the leadership from all spheres of government to this edition of the Council of Mayors. We know that our counterparts at national and provincial government level have a full understanding that government is about their well-being and service to the people, and that local government, as the sphere closest to the people, has a specific responsibility to ensure that it delivers democratic local government and ensure that the quality of life of people continuously improved. This can only become a reality if we work together and build strong partnership, not only amongst the different spheres of government, but also with civil society organizations and communities, as directed by the Constitution. As we debate, examine, deliberate, analyze, and engage over the next 2 days, as we attempt to answer many questions, provide clarities, and make valuable contributions, let us be reminded of a profound words of the former president of the outright country, commonly known as Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara, when he said, I quote, "Our revolution is not public speaking tournament. Our revolution is not a battle of fine phrases. Our revolution is not simple for sporting slogans that are no more than signals used by manipulators trying to use them as a catchwords, as a code words, as a foil for their own display. Our revolution is and should continue to be the collective efforts of revolutionaries to transform reality, to improve the concrete situation of the masses." Close quote. We are under no illusion that local government faces many challenges, including issues ranging from ongoing urbanization and migration, the need to grow our economy and create jobs, extensive service delivery needs, and higher expectations amongst residents. The people who voted us to power, which are shareholders of local government business, expect this. As such, over the next 2 days, this Council of Mayors needs to address the question of how best to transform reality through the investment of resources and efforts into revitalization our spaces and developing local economies. The role of mayors in the process of accelerated reform to unlock potential of our respective localities, and thereby unleash the potential and improve the concrete situation of the masses of our people. And we are convened to rewrite the narrative about local government, which is negative. Program Director, as SALGA, we continue to draw comfort that with the diversity and riches of knowledge, experience, and imagination vested in our collective body, we can only enhance our joint interrogation and resolution of the key challenges facing our local government communities. We trust that the Council of Mayors will be a platform to learn from one another, pool our experience, and share our local expertise to ensure that the quality of life in villages, towns, and cities across all corners of the country indeed build a more sustainable and just future for our people. Let us march forward with unity of purpose and ensure that we practicalize our ambitions into tangible, livable, and sustainable local spaces and places for the benefit of our communities and future generations. Mr. President, this year's edition of Council of Mayors is the very first national gathering of mayors since the November 2021 local government elections, and therefore an opportune time and moment to lay a foundation and anchor mayors for this new term of office. Many mayors are newly elected and serving their first term of office. We therefore appreciate the time you have taken to engage with mayors and look forward to your setting the tone for this term of local government going forward. Things had to change, cutting the ties of the past and focusing in the current and building the future. As I conclude, let us leave you with these words of Thomas Sankara again. You cannot carry, I quote, you cannot carry as government why we are to work together with our communities. In this case, it came from non-conformity, the courage to turn your back on the old and the future. Besides, it took the madman of yesterday for us to be able to act with extreme clarity today. We want to be amongst those madmen in changing the life and conditions of our people. And as it has been said by Auditor General, that the picture about local government is bleak, and the vehicle that we are using cannot take us to the destination in which we want to go through. It is our responsibility to turn the tide, turning our backs against the old formulas and create a better future for our people. This meeting is declared open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our President of SALGA, Councillor Becky Stofile, for that very inspiring opening address and very clearly setting out the task that lies ahead for mayors and local governments as we commence this new term of office. We are very privileged to also have the host Premier, Honourable Oscar Mabunyane, the Premier of the Eastern Cape, with us. And he will be officially welcoming and introducing our keynote speaker. Premier Mabuyane, thank you.
Now, President wants to know uba niyazi njani uba ndidelicious. Isikhahlelo mama Nkosazana apha kwaRharhabe ngamaRharhabe phaa kodwa isikhahlelo sakhe ngumpondo zenyathi. So as I'm seated down here, I'm trying to imagine President nomama Nkosazana bangamed njani kule situation ye local government. So if there's a need of an element of madness, and yithi indosi ungaright wena. The Minister of COGTA, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and Minister Bheki Cele wamapolisa ehamba phaya no National Commissioner, the Deputy Ministers, Comrade Obet and Comrade Tembi, the MEC for COGTA in our province, MEC Zolile Williams, Kuba Mucha President. He must be introduced so that he is known. The SALGA President, Councillor Stofile, and the entire National Executive Committee, former SALGA presidents, all mayors present. The AG, Ms. Tsakane Maluleke, distinguished guests, good morning. I'm invited to usher in President, but in that I think I will just use a few minutes just to crystallize few issues that the President, I would like you to always keep them flamboyant in your mind. As the Eastern Cape province, we are honored to host the mayors who lead 278 municipalities of our country. It's unfortunate that more than 100 mayors are not in this meeting. We're extra happy that His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa is with us this morning in this august gathering that is meant to discuss issues at the local government sphere. Your presence, Mr. President, and your cabinet ministers should signal to all the honorable mayors gathered here that they are not alone in the task of building a reliable and efficient local government system that serves the needs of our communities. If it means we must be all mad, we'll be together in that madness. The mayors gathered here have been in office for 10 months, and we wish to remind them that as leaders in the provincial and national government, we will continue to support them to fulfill the commitments that were made to the electorate in 2021 local government elections. Our support is a constitutional compliance and a principled support that is based on all of us putting people first in everything we do. If we all stick to this principle, our intergovernmental relations will be fruitful for the benefit of the people we serve. The reality on the ground, Mr. President, is that many of our municipalities, especially rural and peri-urban ones, are experiencing chronic challenges of being underfunded and are unable to provide services to our communities. Some of the challenges in local government are systemic, and others are just caused by leadership instability that leads to inefficiencies. As a result of these challenges, the public is losing confidence in public representatives and in government. Between August of 2020 and January of 2021, there were 900 service delivery protests in our country, and most of those protests related to local government as the coal face of our governance system. There are solutions to challenges in local government, and all that is required is to solve them is a political will. I know sometimes we are always looking for other solutions or admin solutions to solve political problems. I would like to draw the attention of all of us gathered here to the following areas of concern. For me, of course, President, again, the fact that there are some mayors or municipalities that are not part of SALGA, it speaks volume to our overall strategic objective. This meeting should be able to discuss that so that SALGA can be able to come up with a solution of making it a point that all municipalities do form part of this important organization. Program Director, Local Government. Program Director, Local Government financial controls must be improved to achieve unqualified or clean audits focusing on stable administrative leadership with skills and capability to manage the affairs of the municipalities and eliminate the use of consultants for the development of. Also beef up engineering departments to maintain the quality of the services such as water reticulation, managing water supplies, strong systems for accurate billing of customers and revenue collection to expand social services, particularly to the indigent residents. About a week ago, I had a meeting here of very old, they're almost all above 70 years. There were about 30 in the room. They wanted to see mayor. So I had to frog march mayor into that meeting. Some were DGs, some were ministers in homelands. They were really concerned about how some of these issues, particularly the issues of pensioners in terms of systems that we have and policies are catered for. So they were raising quite concrete issues, but also issues that I thought are very important for us to be able to look at them as we move forward. Our municipalities should also up the game in creating a conducive environment for investors in cities and towns by ensuring good infrastructure and designated areas for light and heavy industries, promoting security in towns to create safe environment for investors and speed up the appropriation of land for development and assist in relocating communities in areas earmarked for development. I told the mayor that all the mayors that are here would like to see them coming back here in December with their holidays, for their holidays with their families. It's an opportunity for us when we host mayors in the entire country to make sure that they don't just think about Cape Town and Durban, they must understand that there is East London that can offer the best hospitality services to them. Quick wins that our mayors should prioritize to create public confidence. These quick wins include collecting, cleaning the environment, maintaining infrastructure, fixing non-functional streets and robots. The mayors should make it their mission to keep our cities clean and free of crime. Municipality leadership should pass bylaws that protect people. We commit to work with our mayors to turn the local government sphere into a through agent for development. Enkosi kakhulu, I now invite Mr. President to come to the stage and address the mayors. Thank you very much.
Let's be seated, please. I keep asking the Premier how delicious he is. And he's delicious he is. And he's never been able to answer me, meaning that I equal it yokuba delicious. Program Director, Councillor Klante Lindbergh, who is Deputy President of SALGA, President of the South African Local Government Association, Councillor Stofile, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Minister of Police. I haven't seen other ministers. If they are here, I greet you as well. Deputy Minister Tembing Kadimeng and other deputy ministers who may well be here. Of course, the Premier of Eastern Cape, Mr. Oscar Mabuyani, MECs who are here present, Ms. Tsakani Maruleke, the Auditor General of the Republic, Executive Mayor of the Buffalo City Metro, Councillor Kola Pagati, mayors, all of you who are here, councillors and municipal officials, the National Commissioner of Police and his provincial counterpart, delegates, guests, and ladies and gentlemen. It is really a pleasure to have been invited to this gathering of the mayors in our country. I'm glad to hear that there are 168 mayors who have found time to come to this gathering. I'm also pleased to hear that this is an increase from what it was last year and previous years. This means that a number of mayors gathered here as you are, you want to associate with each other and be able to learn together and find best practice that is unfolding. Let me also begin by thanking the Buffalo City Mayor for hosting this year's event. It is now 10 months since we hold local government elections of democratic local government. The Council of Mayors is therefore, in my view, an important platform for mayors to get together to reflect on their roles and responsibilities as they settle into their appointment level, in many ways undermine the government's social and economic development programs. The premiers reported that the poor performance of local government is inhibiting the ability of provinces to drive the pressing economic recovery programs of our country. In the end, when local government fails, it isn't just service delivery that fails. It isn't just that our people's expectations are not met. The failure of local government has a direct and material impact on economic growth and job creation. When a company decides that it is going to relocate from one local government area to another, it is a total vote of no confidence at all in the local government's precinct where it is departing from. And that must be seen as a failure. We cannot realize a South Africa of common prosperity where the life of every person is improved without a strong economy. But that strong economy essentially resides at local government level. When roads are poorly maintained, people cannot go to work. Produce and other goods cannot get to markets. When important social infrastructure is not maintained, children cannot get to school, people cannot access health care, and homes are often left without water or electricity. This has enormous costs for productivity, learning, health outcomes, as well as the quality of life of our people. The failure of local government is essentially the failure of government as a whole. If local government succeeds, all of government does in the end become a success. We do not need more dangers that we face in that regard. We've all seen many reports, from those of the Auditor General to the State of Local Government reports. Local government has therefore come under a lot of scrutiny recently. Perhaps necessarily so, as this is the most visible sphere and the closest sphere of government to our people. As we pay closer attention to what should be done about local government, we should begin to imagine what an ideal local government should look like. Kokta, at our meeting of the Cabinet Lekgotla, has identified key elements which they describe as resilient, sustainable, coherent, cohesive, integrated, non-sexist, vibrant, climate-smart communities, and which, if implemented, would constitute what they characterize as an ideal municipality. And I could not agree more. And some of these elements are a vibrant economy in the local area, creating quality jobs, sustainable livelihoods, and promoting inclusiveness, and also a marketplace. They go on to say it should be a well-funded municipality where residents and businesses pay their rates and taxes, and of course where national government distributes the equitable share of that municipality on a fair and equitable basis. It should also be a place where the money that is generated in the municipality rotates many times within that municipality before it exits. And it also says a place where people get the money to rotate and ensure that the community is able to benefit from the money that rotates there. An ideal municipality should also be an interconnected community, and municipalities where there is full access to ICT and integrated transport, where transport is also cheap, where people do not have to spend up to 40% of their income on transport costs. It should also be a place where people want to visit, like our Premier is saying here, as he invites all of us to come and spend our holidays with our families to East London, to Buffalo City. It should be such a place where you want to go and visit. A place which is clean, a place where there is no sewage in the streets, is the type of place that everybody would want to visit. A decent living place with clean air and with trees adorning the streets of the municipal precinct, and where every household is able to look after what is planted, trees or whatever, and where, for instance, each municipality becomes part of this project of planting millions of trees led by the Department of Environment, Labor, and Agriculture. It should be a place where skills and training happens, where there are TVET colleges or a TVET college underpinned by science and technology and innovation. The municipality should aspire to be an innovation hub where it creates space for young people to be creative, and where there is such a hub buzzing with youthful activity and imagination. It should also be a place where people have access to health and educational and recreational facilities. It should also be a place where there is safety and empowerment, safety for the women of our country, where gender-based violence has been substantially reduced or eliminated, and where women feel safe to walk around any time of the day. It should also be a place where there is food security, where households do not go to bed hungry. It should also be a place where there are resilient human settlements, drives the integrated functioning of government. As our system of world-to-world focus on all these ideal municipality elements, all our developmental work that happens within a ward in our municipalities would then become a reality. In analyzing why local government does not achieve its developmental role, 4 root causes, including the resultant effects and interventions, have been identified as the essence of the sector's inability to discharge its mandate. The first one, as we all know, is poor political leadership capacity and weak administrative management. Secondly, ineffective utilization of financial resources, poor financial administration, the inability to collect revenue, and insufficient fiscal allocation, as I said. Where, as the Premier was saying, to have financials of the municipality drafted, we have to resort to consultants who also struggle to put together the financial statements, leading to the Auditor General finding that the statements are not properly drafted because those who draft the statements or help to draft the statements are third parties and completely outside of the financial management. The third one is the inefficient and non-integrated local government delivery mechanisms or systems and processes to enable service delivery to take place. And I've heard how this manifests itself, where everything in the municipality is outsourced to certain interest groups, resulting in the municipality being captured. We've been talking about state capture, and in fact, we're finding that the real capture is happening at the local government level, where certain interests just capture the entire municipality, and they purportedly then provide every service. And you often find that the workers who were originally employed to execute those functions of providing services continue to be employed by the municipality. They are paid every month, but they hardly ever do the work because the municipality, having been captured by certain interests, then has to pay an ongoing fee to those who have captured it. I was told that there's one such municipality where there's a rumored top 6 that is paid tens and tens of millions every month, and they then manage the subcontractors who they pay or not pay for the various functions. Now, that leads to the municipality overpaying, continuing to pay for the employees who no longer do the work, but overpaying for services that, for the most part, may either be poorly delivered or not delivered at all. And there are just a few who continue to be enriched. Now, these are the systems that we need to look at and ask ourselves, are these the mechanisms that should continue delivering services to our people? There has in the past been this practice of saying outsource, outsource, because through outsourcing you then find much more robust and more efficient ways of either saving money or getting real good performance. By and large, it's also been found that the process of outsourcing has its own disadvantages because you actually completely denude the capability within the government structure, and the government structure becomes almost redundant and beholden to outside interests. And that is how the capture then takes place. And once that capture has taken place, then everything starts going south. There's also the weakness of the degenerating infrastructure and non-existent or poor services provided to local communities. At the core of a municipality's response to this problem statement is the role of the mayor or the executive mayor as the political head of the municipality, exercising executive leadership pursuant to statutory and delegated powers. As political leaders, mayors and executive mayors provide political leadership and guidance in the council, in particular with regard to strategic planning and direction, financial planning, and budgeting and policy development. Executive mayors are the political representatives of communities in various structures and interact with various stakeholders and leaders of other spheres of government. We know what our key challenges are: poor governance, which is given rise to by instability, by the continuous changing of political leadership. You often hear of the instability of mayors being changed on an ongoing basis. Other problem, of course, is financial management and controls. It is quite disturbing when one hears the Auditor General saying they have found that payments are made without any form of record, without any form of invoice, without any form of demonstration who the money is going to, and millions just disappear. Now, that should not be happening, particularly within our democratic system. Another problem, of course, is lack of proper planning and, of course, revenue collection. I think every mayor, every council should be seized with this process of revenue collection, because essentially the residents should be our customers. And as we know, customers come first. Customers have to be satisfied with the service that we give them because they pay for that service. So it is when they are satisfied that we will then be able to get good revenue from them. But we also need to set in place good revenue collection processes and make sure that our revenue collection is between 80 and 100%. Each time I interface with mayors, I often ask them, what is your collection rate? Because it is through that collection rate that you'll be able to define yourself as a successful municipality or not. And of course, the other important thing is to have the requisite skills and capacity within the municipality. We also need to deal with the issue of corruption and be quite pointed and direct in dealing with corruption. And the political infighting and interference is what Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma always says to me. He says, President, the main and key problem with our local government is the political infighting that continues ad nauseum on an ongoing basis. People fight like there is no tomorrow. But also the political interference that happens. As national and provincial governments, we are challenged to look at how we use the constitutional and legislative instruments at our disposal to make local government work better and address these challenges and to ensure that we work for the people of our country. And in terms of just looking at expectations that people have of our mayors, what do our people expect of our mayors? Considering our municipalities, the challenges that they face, it is necessary to remind our mayors that the white paper on local government provides that developmental local government requires a political leadership, and by extension, mayors and executive mayors as political heads should be at the forefront to do a number of things. Firstly, they have to provide community-wide leadership and vision by putting forward a clear vision for the local area, building coalitions of common interests, and encouraging the development of a vibrant civil society. Being able to manage the diverse interests in our municipalities, interfacing with all stakeholders, be it traditional leaders, be it sporting organizations, be it religious organizations, be it educational organizations, and what have you. And secondly is to continue building its capacity to make policy judgments. Local political leaders should actively strengthen their ability to make policy judgments through deepening their own understanding of the dynamics of the local area, anticipating changes and learning from past practices. So you know, each time I interface with our mayors, I often ask them questions that have to do with their own understanding of their local area, particularly the economic environment in the area. And I often ask, as I go around with you or those that I get to meet, company A, B, C, what do they do? What do they produce? How much of what they produce has been rising? And how many people do they employ? And what can you do as the mayor to help them employ more people and to produce more and to ensure that what they produce is either exported or taken to various markets? And how this company is going to interface on the African continent as we implement the African Continental Free Trade Area. The third issue, of course, is to be accountable and transparent, and this requires political leadership, which creates opportunities to account to the community, to increase accountability, ensures that the actions of the council reflect the aspirations of the community, increases the legitimacy of the council, and deepens local democracy. And in this regard, all that the mayor and various councillors have to do is just to keep the community well informed about the issues that you are dealing with, to constantly be interfacing with them. And as one goes around the country, we often hear communities saying, meetings never take place here. We never know what the municipality is doing. And the magic with being connected with communities means that even as you do not have the budget, the money to either build the road, to even close the potholes, to do whatever needs to be done, that transparency of being able to go to our people and explaining to them your budgetary constraints and what your plan and vision is in terms of executing some of your plans and the time frame. Once that is done, I've often found that our people are quite understanding. When we don't do that, that is when they protest. That is when they get into the streets, because they have a sense that nothing is being done. So it is therefore important to build partnerships and build sustainable and durable relationships with our people, because meeting the needs and aspirations of our people requires political leadership and the ability to interface with all sectors, business, and sometimes business can come to the fore to lend assistance. I've often heard of the political leadership at the local level never interfacing with business, and at times regarding business as the enemy. And yet what we should do is to see what we can get out of them to assist us to reach our objectives and meet them on a regular basis. We need to represent the diversity of interests. Municipalities should take active steps to ensure that representatives from groups which tend to be marginalized are encouraged to participate. And we need to demonstrate that there can be value for money. The local political leadership is responsible for ensuring that local taxes are utilized to the maximum benefit of local community, and the leadership should therefore be concerned with efficiency, effectiveness of local administration, and constantly seek to enhance performance and good service quality. And we should never give our people poor service. And we should not overpay for services that are provided by those that we ask to provide services. Now, building on these, I would call on municipality mayors to serve our communities with honesty, with diligence, and with selflessness. Not only will this place them as mayors at the center of responding to the weaknesses, as we have alluded to, but also to make sure that they are at the epicenter of the leadership of local government, and that they can be seen as mayors and executive mayors who are positively contributing towards regaining and rebuilding the trust and the confidence that society needs to have in our local government. I also call on our mayors to rise to the challenge of changing the narrative regarding the image, the standing, and reputation of our municipalities. A game changer in this regard is needed and required in order to show and demonstrate that we are changing the narrative of local government. We need to do certain things. One of those things would be we should ensure that there is consequence management and accountability. This must be the hallmark of restoring the credibility of our municipalities. It is not numerous workshops or support programs that we can get, and also the calls for more funding. It must be based on a shift on our approach. It must be based on how we can inspire our people that indeed there is change. Our people generally are not fools. They know what is happening as it unfolds in our municipalities. They know who is perpetrating acts of corruption. They know who is stealing their own money. They know. And all we need to do is to change that narrative and make sure that, yes, there is proper management and accountability, and continue to build the confidence that we would like them to have in our municipal structures. Now, one of the challenges that we face is the denuding of the skills in the municipal space, with more senior managers having left either through the ending of their employment contracts or through natural attrition, or being railroaded out of the administration, being forced to leave. It should be impressed on our mayors to appoint professional and competent managers to run municipal administrations. This practice that may have been pervasive of appointing certain people who are pliable should now come to an end. We must appoint people who are professionals, who know what they are doing. People who are well trained, people who know what the running of a municipal administration is all about. Similarly, we must remain vigilant and act decisively on instances of maladministration and corruption in our municipalities, such that the confidence should be restored in our municipalities. And I know that a number of your municipalities are taking steps to do precisely that in a number of places. More and more professionals are being employed, yes, even engineers, even financial people. We would like to see that happening more and more. Further to this, what will change the image of local government is when, as mayors, you advocate for the newly empowered MPACs to play their effective oversight role and mandate on an unhindered basis, and when our council takes collective responsibility to enforce discipline and decisive actions when the Auditor General issues a disastrous audit report against our municipalities, and hold our senior executives accountable. We need to be treating the reports from the Auditor General much more seriously, because the Auditor General is not writing a fiction novel. It's not writing a fable. They are actually fathoming what is actually happening. We therefore need to take what they write very seriously. Another area that needs to be addressed is the working relationship between office bearers in the municipality. As the municipal council operates in terms of several office bearers, the mayor, the deputy mayor, the speaker, and the chief whip, as well as various committees, the effective functioning of a council depends much on the cooperation and the coherent and cooperative distribution of functions between the various institutions and persons. The relationship between the speaker and the mayor is often problematic because there is confusion about the speaker's mandate. The full-time nature of a speaker also frequently attracts functions that fall outside of the traditional and legislated role of the speaker. We have similarly seen strained relations between the speakers and the chief whip due to the role clashes and duplications. There is therefore a need for greater political management as well as maturity by political office bearers. And this should be led by the mayors to ensure greater understanding of respective roles and responsibilities, supplemented with ongoing and structured political monitoring of adherence. It may be in the interest of mayors to instead of micromanaging, that they should create internal reporting and monitoring and evaluation processes and structures to hold office bearers accountable. The absence of a monitoring and evaluation system also results in an absence of an early warning mechanism. Hence, the prevalence of many community protests that are not foreseen or desired or even anticipated. Now, local government has undoubtedly made great strides towards realizing the rights of our people, to a better life and in advancing human dignity. We must, however, take a moment to reflect on the commitments that were made by former President Nelson Mandela on the 27th of April in 1994, when he said, "Our message is that the basic needs of the masses of our people must be addressed. The creation of jobs and houses, the introduction of electricity, the building of schools and hospitals, providing free compulsory quality education, running water and paved roads, close quotes. Upon honest reflection, it is common knowledge that across many parts of our very beautiful country, this promise of 1994 has not yet been fulfilled. So as council mayors, you need to take stock of current realities, and mayors must go a step further to capture the moment as an opportunity to renew and to recommit ourselves to the 1994 promise in this fifth term of democratic and people-centered local government, with sights clearly set on improving the living conditions of the people of South Africa through developmental local government, and to embark on what one would call a course or trajectory correction, which is best summarized as follows: a focused and committed leadership across all municipalities with greater and stronger strategic relations with the various social partners in a municipality, engendering and encouraging the development of those close relations, including labor, business, and civil society. The improvement in the quality and efficiency of local government through planning and executing what needs to be done. It is often quite disturbing when one hears that what was budgeted and allocated as in the form of funds is often returned back to Treasury. And we often ask, why was the money not spent? And it often revolves around no proper planning, major disagreements as who the tender should go to, because there is often a fight about who should get the tender. And when the fight is not resolved, in the end, the money goes back to Treasury. I've been told that the practice that exists in many of our local government entities is that it is generally known who certain tenders should go to. That once there's a major project, the fight starts as to who should get the project. And there's often an understanding who that should go to. Now, that needs to come to an end. We need to focus on what is in the interest of our people first, before we say who should gain the best financial interest in our local municipalities. We need to fix municipalities and their agencies to restore governance and service. And we also need to be decisive in professionalizing municipal administrations and stabilizing the management. And we also need to focus more closely on fiscal sustainability and sound management of our finances. Now, in dealing with these challenges that local government faces, legislatively as well as effectively, SALGA has raised the fact that a Section 139 intervention, although necessary in many instances, is not a sustainable solution to the challenges our municipalities face. And I've asked the officials of SALGA, other than 139, which other section in our legislation repertoire, including the Constitution, should be utilized, not so much to police, but to incentivize local government to work to rule, to ensure that there's accountability, and to deliver a well-run municipality. Of course, we've got Section 154 of the Constitution that we could resort to and make interventions, because quite often we see the wheels coming off in a number of municipalities. And the question we've had to ask ourselves, when do we intervene and how do we intervene? We know that we have to fix the underlying problems, not with what we see on the surface. We also need to deal with the issue of the capacity. Now, recently, I've seen how the lack of capacity, and this is an objective analysis of how, when faced with a real calamity that we need to address, we see the lack of that capacity that we desire. In April this year, parts of KZN, Northwest, and Eastern Cape were hit by devastating floods. In the aftermath, we were forced to confront serious questions about our ability at local, provincial, and at national level to deal with crises of this nature. Now, moving beyond the issues of humanitarian relief and infrastructure repairs, we found that basics like updated disaster management plans were found wanting right across. We expect that when a disaster strikes, the whole of government should be able to move with speed, with effectiveness, to save our people, to put in place mechanisms and structures that are going to move like a well-oiled machine to address the challenges that our people face. Of the many lessons we have learned from the floods and before that from COVID-19, the need to go back to basics stands out. We do need at all levels of government to ask ourselves, what are the basics? What is it that we as the whole of government need to be doing, to be providing? And for local government, these basics include, firstly, putting people first and their concerns first. In other words, when we have people whose houses have been destroyed and who we are now accommodating in halls, our first priority, having saved them from the immediate danger and put them in halls, must be, how do we give them dignity? How do we make sure that they are provided with dignity and we pull out all stops to achieve that goal? That is what putting people first. Secondly, we need to be supporting the delivery of the services at the rate that it deserves. Thirdly, we should obviously be doing everything in accordance with good governance and transparency and accountability. It is also being suggested that perhaps as we are moving forward and saying we want more and more accountability, that is now putting the brakes on. We begin to move slower because people have become much too careful. And this is where I say, if we have a problem doing so, be able to justify every step that we will take. So adhering to processes of accountability should not mean that we become paralyzed, that we become uncreative, that we become so stuck with all the rules that we can no longer move. It basically means that we, having put our people first, and we are able therefore to justify every step that we take. Of course, that means that the accountability must also result in good financial management. But we should also finally be building institutional resilience and administrative capacity. In other words, we should be learning from the mistakes that we may well have made and build institutional capacity and be able to say, from what we have experienced now, what is it that we have learned that can strengthen our institutions? We are all familiar with these basic actions, and we all agree that we must prioritize them. The question then is, why are we not successful in implementing some of these actions? Why are we continuing to witness persistent failures that are widening the levels of distrust and lack of confidence between us and the people of South Africa? The reality is that we cannot return to basics so long as local government is seen by many as a terrain of political squabbles and personal enrichment. That is why this Council of Mayors, critical issues of best practice in governance, in financial management and community engagement needs to grapple with these challenges. And I'm glad that you are going to spend a solid 2 days doing just that. It needs to discuss how to shield municipal management and functions from political interference and infighting and corruption. No discussion around building stronger municipalities will be complete without a frank look at the conduct of those who run them. Since the election last year, more municipalities than ever have. This means that if we are to effectively attend to the needs of our people, the residents of our municipalities, there needs to be far greater cooperation across party lines and less focus on this ding-dong practice of removing mayors every week or every month. There needs to be a concerted and shared effort to address growing levels of public dissatisfaction with service provision. There is hardly a municipality in this country, regardless of who runs it, that has not been impacted by some form of protest. We've seen a deeply disturbed on councillors and municipal administrators. I'm told that councillors have been killed in the past few years by virtue of being councillors. Now, although this violence has varying causes, we need to once again take a hard look at the extent to which this is a manifestation of something much deeper. Is it a result of public anger, or is it because of some of our municipalities have been captured by other interests? Have criminals taken over some of our municipalities? I've heard stories of where, when the council meets to deliberate on the equitable share that has now arrived, the council, this audience area, the gallery, you find that there are people who are either criminals, people who have other interests. They come in and they watch over the councillors, how they are, and they watch them very closely, and to make sure that their own equitable share, on top of another equitable share, goes to them, and goes to them immediately. And I've been told that soon after the council meeting, the money is then distributed into certain accounts and it disappears. Now, as mayors, you obviously carry a very heavy responsibility. It is in the end up to you to ensure that your respective councils aren't just councils that are functional and fulfill their mandates, but also that they become cohesive councils And I know that this may be a difficult thing to do in the era that we are in now, where there are so many fractures at the political level. One of our MECs was saying, some of our councillors elected in various councils are people who can't even read or write. Now, that is quite concerning, particularly because we are now in 28 years of democratic government where education has been made free, where the doors of learning have been opened. Now, as I said at the Human Rights Commission recently conference on local governance, communities must feel that they have a stake and a voice in how their municipalities are governed. In the end, as our mayors, you are the champions of accountability. You need to ensure performance and consequence management. You should therefore welcome the fact that the National Treasury, COCTA, and SALGA are finalizing the consequence management accountability framework. This should empower a person who, after being elected as a mayor in Japan, in a rural part of Japan, soon after he was elected, immediately went to Tokyo. And he moved from company to company in Tokyo. He went to the big companies, Toyota, Sony, Mitsubishi, you name them. And his message was simple. He said, tax holiday, we will offer you land, of course, at a very good rate, and we have well-trained workers in our town. We're inviting you to come and invest. And that town today is one of their biggest metropolitan towns or cities in Japan. It's called Yokohama. And that mayor had taken the sole and pointed initiative to go out and seek investments and create the environment for investors to come. I digress for a minute. When I was chairman of MTN, when I was still in business, we went to Nigeria and said to the then president, we would like you to open up for MTN to come and operate here. And we said, but we would like you to give us a tax holiday. Tax holiday for 7 years or so. They agreed. 7 years, didn't pay taxes, and immediately the stock price of MTN went up because we're entering a very good, lucrative market. Today, MTN is the biggest taxpayer in Nigeria because an environment had been created for that company to enter, and it was then able to spread and to become the big operator that it is. What I'm trying to put forward to you as mayors, that wonderful climate for investors to come and invest. It will create that wonderful climate to make your city, your town, your municipality attractive. And it is where everybody then begins to have inclusive growth and the opportunities then start to multiply. That is how China became what it is today. That China has become the second biggest economy in the world and will soon become the largest. It's because the economic development started at that local level. It was at that local level where they ensured that they would make the climate conducive. And of course, in doing so, you've got to work with national government, with provincial government, but be more creative because you are located at where the economy functions. Investments, as I always say, are not made at the union buildings. They are made at the local government level. And you therefore need to focus on how you can engender those investments. So as I say, you are the trade and investment ambassadors. And promoting your metros, your cities and towns should become your business. You are the political heads and have to ensure that your administrations are stable, protected from political interference and that you engender growth. This means you have to lead by example and not indulge in the very conduct for which you seek to discipline others. In the end, you are your administration foremost advocate for sustainable development. Mayors have to ensure that infrastructure is climate resilient and that communities are protected from extreme weather events. Now, we've suffered from the floods in Eastern Cape and KZN. Some of those structures, as we know, were built on very dangerous ground. Now, as the mayor, you are the one who's supposed to say, this is dangerous ground. Even if our people want to move and go to those types of places, you need to be providing the leadership, and we also need to enforce municipal laws. But this requires partnerships to mobilize expertise and resources so that we support sound decision-making. Mayors must lead the country's transition to renewable energy sources, efficient water use and management, effective solid waste management, and the construction of climate-proof infrastructure and green transportation. As mayors, you are a bulwark against corruption in all its forms and have a critical role to play in promoting ethics and integrity in your municipalities. We look to you as mayors to guide the local government anti-corruption forums convened under the district development model. I also want to call upon you not to forget one other important area. Just as the deputy president at the national level is the key focal point against our fight on HIV/AIDS, you as the mayors, you are the key focal point of making sure that the incidence of HIV infections are lowered. You must lead that. And you are the key focal point on addressing the issue of gender-based violence. A critical issue for local government is that of municipal revenues, as I've said. Now, of course, your government is different from other spheres of government, but in the end, it is the most effective. Infrastructure is an area that you need to focus on a continuous basis and be able to harness what you must also be at the forefront of spreading the message that residents must pay for services. And in the end, we have to work together, both at national and at provincial level, to make our local government sphere work a lot better and ensure that there is decent service delivery at that level of government. This Council of Mayors has set an ambitious agenda. We should not allow the recommendations that come out of this council to languish on some desk somewhere. The country's mayors have a responsibility to steer the ship of local government through the turbulent waters that we are going through. It is not a responsibility that can be outsourced. We cannot outsource our mayors, much as other entities would like to see us outsourcing mayors. We are not going to outsource you. You are not outsourceable anyway. So, like all of us, you were not elected to serve a party, a government, or private interests, or your own personal interests. Like all of us, you were elected to serve the people of South Africa, but more particularly, the people in your municipal precinct. I have the utmost confidence that this is a mandate that you understand fully and appreciate. And I also have confidence that you are, as our mayors, up to the task. We have to go back to basics and deliver on the promise that we made to the people of South Africa. And in order to do so, you are at the forefront of enabling us to regain the trust of the people of South Africa. We have to work with unity of purpose to overcome poverty, unemployment, inequality, and underdevelopment. Above all, we have to ensure that in driving inclusive growth and economic development, we leave no one behind. As our mayors, you should be concerned as we see our people living in squalor, because it is at the local government level ways in which we can address this. Of course, funding is one of the biggest challenges we face, but with a number of opportunities that we need to look out for, I have confidence that as the mayors of our country, you can do it. Let's leave no one behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our President, Cyril Ramaphosa. As the Program Director for this part of our program today, and on behalf of the plenary here, I wish to extend our sincerest gratitude for the presence of our esteemed guests, President Ramaphosa, Premier Mabuyane, as well as our SALGA President, Councillor Stofile, and Deputy President, Councillor Pakate. Your presence here is valued, but also your continued commitment and visible support to ensure that